This week on The Gadget Show, the world's biggest shop, eBay. Where did it come from? Is it safe? And can it make you money?
I test those steady shot mechanisms you get in cameras to see if they actually do work.
While I go one step further and build my very own Steadicam style stabilizer for just 50 quid.
The internet has revolutionised the way we shop. £42 billion worth of goods have been bought online by British shoppers in the last 5 years. And online shops now account for 10% of all retail in this country. But there's one online shopping site that stands out. It doesn't actually sell anything itself, it gets you to do that, but it still manages to offer great bargains on pretty much anything you can think of. I'm talking about the most popular shopping destination on the internet. Welcome to eBay. We spend more time on eBay than any other website, and there are more than 150 million registered users worldwide, more than 1 million of whom make a living purely by trading on eBay. In just 10 years, eBay has grown from a good idea to a massive worldwide phenomenon worth more than £4 billion a year. Incredibly, for every $100 spent online worldwide, $14 are spent on eBay. This week on The Gadget Show, we're going to tell you all you need to know about the world's largest shopping site, where you can buy and sell pretty much anything you want, as long as it's not illegal or still breathing. eBay was started in 1995 by Pierre Omidyar. Legend has it that he was having dinner with his fiancée Pam Wesley, an avid collector of sweet dispensers. Apparently, she complained that she had no way of making contact and trading with other collectors. It occurred to Pierre that the answer might lie with the internet, so he immediately took to his computer and within days had created an internet trading site that would eventually become eBay. A very nice, homely, friendly story. Sort of makes you love these caring, sharing, geeky computer types, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it's not true. As the internet grew and grew in the mid-90s, the whole of Silicon Valley became obsessed with finding a killer application that could use the web to make them billionaires. Pierre Omidyar was a very smart techie who came up with one such application and called it eBay. As the company grew, it started to swallow up the opposition, buying out other auction sites and absorbing them. It now also owns PayPal, the world's largest secure online payment network, bought in 2002 for $1.5 billion. And Skype, the broadband phone company, which it bought this year for $2.6 billion. The speed of growth was incredible, leading to eBay recently being named as the fastest growing company in history. Originally, Pierre's trading site was called Auction Web, just a small part of the website for his technology company, the Echo Bay Group. Pierre hadn't been fast enough registering the name echobay.com. It had already been snapped up by a Canadian gold mining company of the same name, so he had to settle for ebay.com. The most expensive item ever sold on eBay was a Gulf Jetstream aircraft, which went for £2.5 million. In fact, one of Margaret Thatcher's old handbags even managed to fetch £103,000. When it comes to strange stuff, honestly, I could go on all day. Have a look at this. This is a woolly mammoth skeleton. And no bids as yet. I know that one of these sold a little while ago for £61,000. And if we just have a look around, yeah, look at this. A human soul for sale, apparently from a 17-year-old boy in Essex. Not quite sure what he's going to do without that. All quite weird, but when it comes to buying strange stuff on eBay, one company stands head and shoulders above the rest, goldenpalace.com. Here's what we think are their 5 most outrageous purchases. Advertising space on Caroline Smith. For $10,000, she had the company web address tattooed on her forehead. Pope Benedict XVI sold VW Golf for €189,000. A grilled cheese sandwich which bore a likeness of the Virgin Mary on it for $28,000. They paid $529 for a jar containing air breathed by Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, collected at the premiere of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Finally, and most strangely, they paid £103 to an Englishman from Brierley Hill for a cherry stone. Yep, you heard right, a cherry stone from a particularly delicious cherry he'd eaten. He posted it purely to prove that you can sell anything on eBay. Of course, a major concern for many people when using eBay is security. Join me later for the Gadget Show guide to how to spot an eBay scam.
As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the best gadgets ever. Especially, of course, if you're a TV or movie director. It's a Steadicam, and in the hands of someone who knows what they're doing, like Mike here, it gives you a moving shot that's smooth and, well, steady, no matter how uneven the ground you're walking over. It was invented in the early 70s by commercials producer and cameraman Garrett Brown. He worked on various designs using bungee cables and pulley systems before settling on this setup. It's been used throughout the TV and movie industry ever since, with very little modification. Various parts of the Steadicam work together to keep the camera stable. There's this spring-laden arm here, which is a sort of macho version of the one you'd find on an angle-poised desk lamp, that helps isolate the camera from Mike's body movements. In here, there's a gimbal similar to one you'd find on a ship's compass, which helps keep the camera level. And the weight of the camera is counterbalanced by a weight down here, actually batteries and a monitor, which also has the effect of moving the camera's centre of gravity away from the camera itself to a point near the gimbal, which makes it more resistant to movement. The overall result is that small movements by Mike aren't so easily translated into camera movements and hence shaky images. At the same time, he's free to change his overall position to get those all-important developing shots. A downside is that a kit like this weighs about 20 kilos, so at the end of our day's shoot, Mike will be utterly exhausted. But never mind, don't worry, we've plenty of other cameramen available if we should wear him out. A new Steadicam kit will cost you 20 grand, and that's without the camera. So if you're thinking of getting one to improve your home movies, you may want to think again. But what are the options for keeping your own video and stills steady? Well, you might have seen this ad from Panasonic, singing the praises of the stabilising lens in their compact digital camera.
See? Perfectly sharp pictures in tricky situations.
But that's just a commercial. Here on the Gadget Show, we're keen on real-life testing, which is why we've decided to replicate the conditions of that wintry ad as faithfully as possible and test the Panasonic camera alongside one from Canon, which also offers image stabilisation. So, in the interests of science, Jessica and Karen from the Gadget Show office have come here to the Snow Dome in Tamworth, wearing just their gym kits. Let's see how shaky their pictures are at -5 degrees centigrade. Right, Karen, you first with the Canon. Switch it on just there. Jess, you go to the top of the slope. To work out how effective the image stabilizers are, first we want to see what the pictures look like without the steady button pressed, just using the fastest shutter speed available. The results aren't too hot, and there's a lot of judder from our freezing cold lady photographers. So let's try it again with the stabilizers on. So Jess, go to your position and we'll see what we... Both cameras have optical stabilizers, which are elements inside the lens linked to a gyroscopic sensor. As you move the camera around, the elements compensate for the movement. It's like having your very own Steadicam inside the lens. Side by side, it's clear the stabilizers work well. In fact, with the systems on, you can use a shutter speed that's 4 times as long and still get a sharp shot. So, image stabilizers are great for stills cameras, but the Steadicam, of course, was designed for movies. And these days, virtually every camcorder you can buy comes with some sort of stabilization system. But how good are they? Should we be switching them on or leaving them off? find out, I'm going to test the Super Steady Shot system on the Gadget Show's favourite camcorder, the one I bought a few weeks ago, Sony's new HDV Handycam. Unlike the optical systems on the stills cameras we tried, this one's digital. It leaves a buffer zone between the image the camera picks up and the one that's actually recorded on the tape. Sensors in the camera pick up your shaking hands and move the recorded image within the larger area to compensate. So let's try it out. I'm going to give Jason an identical camcorder to mine, except on his, the steady shot will be off, and on mine, it'll be on. And for our first test, we're going to take a shot of Suzi from about 20 metres away. While she poses in a stylish and captivating manner, we'll both be shooting her with our lenses zoomed in on identical shots.
There you go. It's like a Marks and Spencer's catalogue shoot, this.
Thanks.
I'll do my best to be as balanced as possible, and it's wobbling all over the place.
And to make sure it wasn't a case of operator error, Jason and I swapped cameras to repeat the test.
I can talk now because this is so much steadier. I've got no problem in talking, it doesn't affect it at all. What an incredible technology.
Looking at the results in the editing suite, it's clear that with the stabilizer switched on, the camera produced a much smoother shot, compared to the rather jittery one with it switched off. And this was still the same when Jason and I switched cameras. But what about when you start panning and moving the camera around? First, we got Suzi to walk towards us while we filmed her from the same position. Then we both tried out what the film buffs call a tracking shot, moving the camera itself while Suzi walked towards us. What becomes clear is that as Suzi gets closer, both images appear steadier, though there is still that characteristic jitteriness from the camera operator when the stabilizer is off. Likewise, the stabilizer also makes the tracking shot a more comfortable viewing experience. It can't match the smooth glide of a proper 20 grand Steadicam, but on the basis of these tests, I'll be leaving my steady shot on. This is Tom Dunmore of Stuff magazine, and this week he's checking out the very latest in home entertainment systems.
Gadget lovers are going to really appreciate this system because it's got so many cool features in it, like this slot loading CD drive and these NXT flat panel speakers. It's got a hard drive built in, so you slot your CD in, it recognises the tracks, you hit the record button and it rips your music to the hard drive. Now it's a 40GB hard drive which has enough space for about 10,000 songs, so that's a pretty significant music collection. And the really great thing is, it's not just this unit that will play the music. When you buy it, it comes with a separate box which you put in a different room. I've got one downstairs, and it can wirelessly stream music from one room to the other. So when I leave the room up here, I can press this music follow me button. The music will stop up here, go downstairs, press the same button, and the same music starts up. It's a really neat solution. Although it's Wi-Fi, it doesn't require any network setup. You just take it out of the box, turn it on, and it works. And that is a real improvement. This is the JVC EXD5, and it might just look like a normal micro hi-fi system, but actually it's packed full of electricity. As well as being a normal CD player, it's got a DVD drive built in. If you attach it to a TV, you can watch movies, but it does more than that. It will play DVD audio discs, which will give better than CD quality sound, and it will play DVD-Rs that you've stuffed full of MP3s, and you can fit about 1,000 songs on one disc, and that means you never have to get up to change the music. Plug this in, and you can stream music wirelessly from your PC. But my favourite feature has to be this. Hidden away behind the speaker grill is a wooden cone. It's wood that's been soaked in alcohol and it sounds fantastic. So I'm going to soak myself in alcohol to enjoy it. This Smart Life system is the ultimate in home entertainment. It's not only a great micro hi-fi, it's also an excellent DVD player. Despite being tiny and having only 2 of these little speakers and a subwoofer, it delivers incredible surround sound because it uses a new technology called Dolby Virtual Surround that really makes it feel like there's loads of speakers in the room with you. The other great thing about this is you can connect your iPod to it. Now, It's not just an audio connection, it's actually a USB connection. I can then control my iPod with the Denon remote control. In fact, you even get a display up on the screen, so you can easily navigate through your music and play whatever you want to without having to get up from the sofa. If you're looking for a complete home entertainment solution, this is the answer. It's brilliant.
Now it's time to return to eBay and the number one concern for those too wary to use it: security. Scanning the internet, it doesn't take long to find horror stories about what has happened to people trading on eBay. Email scams, phishing and damaged goods. As with anything on the internet, of course, there's no way of telling if these stories are true or if they're just fabricated by people with an axe to grind. But they do still make many people too nervous to deal on eBay. When we started asking around the Gadget Show office, it wasn't long before we found someone who'd had a real eBay nightmare. This is Nick Deacon. He's a researcher on the Gadget Show. Last year, he decided to buy a semi-pro Sony camcorder on eBay for £1,200.
I agreed between the seller to just pay half the money prior to delivery, and then once I had it, to pay the other £600. And the item didn't turn up. Basically, he said that he was no longer going to send me the video camera unless he had the money in full. I trusted him up until that point because he'd suggested the half payment. His feedback rating was very good. He was very communicative, very helpful. So I contacted the police, and it turns out that he was taking over people's accounts on eBay and using their feedback to sort of get people's trust to actually sell items. He was sentenced to 12 months after ripping off people for just over £45,000 in the end.
So, as things stand today, you're £600 out of pocket?
Yes.
Without a camera?
Without a camera and without £600.
Although rare, scammers do exist on eBay, as in any big marketplace, but there are steps you can take to remain as safe as possible. To start with, if a bargain seems too good to be true, then of course, it probably is. See what happened when I started shopping for an iPod. There's a whole group of iPod Photo 60 gigs here on Buy It Now for between 90 and 100 euros. That's about £60. Now, I know that these sell for about £200 plus on here. So, at a price like this, alarm bells should be ringing. Let's look a bit closer. Before you buy anything, check the feedback page on the seller. Obviously, positive feedback is good, but dig a little bit deeper. An easy way for fraudsters to build up an impeccable feedback record is by buying loads and loads of cheap stuff, but that'll tell you nothing about them as a seller. Also, check the dates the feedback was left against the end of the auction dates. If it's all happened a bit too quickly, then you might have smelt a rat. Just look at our dodgy iPod ad. It's 15th of August today as we're filming, and all of this feedback down here, every single item is on the 15th of August, which means that they've bid for the item, received the item, and posted their comments on the same day. Scammers need to act quickly before their con is uncovered, and will often rush feedback using a shill. That's another eBay user account they've set up to buy their own products and leave quick feedback. Identical comments from completely different buyers is a dead giveaway. Something else we've found on those suspicious iPod pages. Just have a look here. 2 comments, lightning fast shipper, a pleasure doing business with you, ! And exactly the same comment from apparently a different buyer. Piles of question marks, good, 1 question mark, 3 question marks. This is obviously the same guy set up all of these accounts to try and get 100% positive feedback. All credit to eBay though. It does seem they are constantly on the lookout for fraudsters. Within minutes of us finding the string of suspect iPod ads, they'd found them and deleted them from the site. They've all been taken off.
What, everything's gone?
Yeah. When you set up an eBay account, you need to create a username. Don't use your real name or your email address for this. That's just disclosing too much information. In fact, most of us on the Gadget Show actually have a completely separate Hotmail or Gmail account using a pseudonym for dealing with everything we buy online. If you take your eBaying seriously, then it's worth checking what the current scams are every now and again. Google's news pages seem to take a particular interest in that sort of stuff, so a quick search there could keep you up to date. So hopefully now you know how to stay a little safer, but stick around to find out if it's possible to actually make money on eBay in our grand £100 eBay reality game.
Phew. Nick Berry, long live love. Yeah, all right.
Earlier on tonight, John tested a range of image stabilizers built into various cameras. They all worked pretty well, but let's face it, what any true Gadget fan wants is a real Steadicam. This fantastic looking piece of kit is the Steadicam Jr, a camera stabilizer using the same principles as a full-size Steadicam unit, but designed for camcorders. Being a bit of semi-professional kit though, it's not cheap. If you fancy one, it'll cost you nearly 500 quid. But that's about as much as it cost me to buy this camera. Surely there's got to be a cheaper way. And so I set myself the task of building my very own DIY camera stabilising unit for a budget of just £50. All camera stabilisers work on the same theory. You put your camera on the top of a vertical tube. On the bottom you put some kind of weight, and if you get that balance just right, there'll be a counterbalancing effect, a little bit like a pendulum on a clock. At least that's the theory. My own camera stabiliser took a few weeks to get right. I worked my way through a series of designs using copper piping, mountain bike parts, various bits of plumbing equipment, and a big chunk of fisherman's lead as the counterbalance, but it kept getting too complicated and cumbersome. Then it occurred to me that the best builds that I've done on the Gadget Show have been those that involve objects that already do the job for you. Like this, a monopod. It's a very clever device, like a tripod, but it's just got one leg. And it's the type of thing you use if you're wandering down the street and you see something you want to shoot with your stills camera or your video camera, you just whack it in there and it has a steadying effect. You can get a nice, steady and even shot. Best of all, it's got this gubbins on the top, the means of connecting the camera, which was always going to be very complicated. So there we are, component number one, and that set me back 16 quid. The theory says that if I put my camera on the top there and then add some form of weight, that should have a stabilising effect. In practice, though, I found it to be quite the opposite, because as I moved around the garden with my camera, I found that the movement of my walking, my gait, was transferring up the pole and into the camera. So I had a relatively stable shot that was bobbing up and down every step that I took. In order to get around that, I needed to introduce something that would take that movement out of the system. And I came up with this. It's actually a tripod, believe it or not, from the same place I bought the monopod. But I only use it as a handle because it's got this fantastic little joint at the top, a ball and socket joint. Look at that. Because it moves so freely, if I grab this, it has the effect of taking any movement I put into the system out. So I should end up with a much more stable camera stabilizer. I need to add it as close as possible to where the centre of gravity on my stabilizer will be, hopefully just below the camera position. And that requires nothing more complicated than the creative use of a Jubilee clip, a bit of rubber, and half a corner brace from a DIY shop. And so there it is, the finished article, my handle, with that lovely ball and socket joint, ready to take all of my motion out of the system. The problem is, it's messed with the centre of gravity. Can you see? There's nothing stable about that now. What I need to do is to keep my handle as the centre of gravity now and move the monopod to an angle. And then to stabilise the system, I'm going to add element number 3. This arm, horizontal to the ground, and I'll put a weight on the end. This thing is a lighting clamp. It's used by professional photographers to clamp on a table and affix a light to it. But you can pick it up just about in most high street photographic stores. I got this one for just £9.99. There's the angle I was looking for. It gives me room to get into my handle. I've still got all the motion there that I need, and this is perfectly flat. All I've got to do now is put on the final piece of the jigsaw, which is a weight. I could have just strapped on my lump of lead, but then I found an old Casio Pocket TV I had knocking about. With that taped on, I not only had the perfect counterbalance, but also an extra monitor that I could send a feed of the camcorder's pictures to. Pretty snazzy, eh? There we are. The finished article. You know what, that's not bad. Maybe a few minor adjustments. A tiny bit more weight required on there, but that's Not bad at all. All that I've got to do now is go out and test it. For something costing less than 50 quid, I reckon the results are fantastic, especially when you remember that a full professional Steadicam kit costs 20 grand. Even on steps, it smooths out nearly all the wobbles. Well, I've got to tell you, I think my camera stabilisation device has proved very successful in field testing. It has got one or two personality glitches. For example, I'll probably put this bracket back in the vise and just tweak it up a little bit to give my knuckles more room. And this bottom swing arm, it keeps moving. I'll probably have to firm that up a little bit, but on the whole, I reckon it's a very successful project. The only problem is, of course, it's very heavy on the old arms. Could someone please yell cut? Cut. Thanks.
Now it's time to return to the subject of eBay. And if you really want to work it to your advantage, there are loads of help books out there, all of which claim they know the secret of making big bucks out of the world's favourite shopping site. What we want to do is test the 2 best-selling eBay help books. And so we've come up with our grand eBay £100 challenge. This is Tom. This is Tanya, both complete eBay virgins. OK, chaps, you've got a month to make as much money on eBay as possible. Tanya, eBay for Dummies, that's your book. And for Tom, make money on eBay UK. OK, you've got £100 each and 1 month. Good luck. First week for both Tom and Tanya is spent reading and absorbing their self-help books.
Win auctions, sell with confidence, and share the secrets of the eBay elite.
While Tanya's book, eBay for Dummies, is aimed at explaining the overall concept of the auction site and getting you started, Tom's book,
I have to say, it's not exactly Dickens.
claims to actually teach ways of making money on eBay. So, theoretically, he should do better in this challenge. Having gleaned every bit of information they can from their books, Tom and Tanya open accounts on eBay and start dealing. Both start off buying and selling small stuff. This is a good way for eBay versions to build up feedback cheaply and will give them lots of vital experience of doing deals. Tanya's sticking to an area she knows and understands: music, CDs and DVDs.
Eric Clapton Unplugged?
She starts buying up anything she thinks is underpriced on eBay, so she can hopefully resell it at a markup.
Madonna music? That might go down well.
Before you buy or sell anything on eBay, surf around for a good while checking out other similar items. You'll get a good idea of what the going rate is.
Whew. Nick Berry, Long Live Love. Yeah, all right.
While Tanya stocks up on CDs, Tom's been out hitting the charity shops.
Yes. Look at this. After hours and hours of trailing through charity shops and car boot sales, I have this. A cheap as chips Manic Street Preachers picture vinyl for a grand total of 50 English pence. It's a bargain. It's a work of art. It's brand new, never been opened, and I reckon I'm going to make a killing. So, right, I'm going to put this on eBay. See ya.
Car boots and charity shops are fantastic places to pick up stuff to sell on eBay. Think about it. Niche collectibles like Tom's picture disc can sit in a charity shop for months unnoticed. Put the same item on eBay and suddenly die-hard fans worldwide will be coming out of the woodwork to bid on it. In fact, charity shops have got wise to this themselves recently, and many now have departments dedicated to selling through eBay.
It's Motorcycle Emptiness, you know, probably their best song, and one of my favourites anyway. And let's see how many makeup-wearing, self-harming, freaky Manic Street Preachers fans there are out there who are willing to buy it. I thank you.
As we're past the halfway point in our challenge, Tom's full of confidence, but Tanya's CDs aren't shifting, and she's getting worried.
I've just put my items up for sale. I know I'm not going to get a profit on those stupid buys.
Tanya anticipated problems, and she was right. Only a couple of her CDs sell, and only one of those by the white stripes makes a profit. Tom, on the other hand, can't stop smiling. His picture disc has made a big profit.
I sold it for £14, plus £4 postage and packaging, which actually, makes me even more money as well.
Interestingly, both Tom and Tanya slightly inflated their postage costs to increase their profit margins. When buying on eBay, it's always well worth checking the postage costs carefully. Some sellers will offer stuff really cheaply, then sting you on the transit costs. With just a week to go, both our eBayers, completely independently, decide that concert tickets are where the big money is to be made. They scour the postings for underpriced tickets which they reckon they can resell. Tom picks up a couple to see McFly for £26, while Tanya buys 2 tickets for Jamiroquai at a price of £65. Both gigs are just days away, so they get their tickets back on eBay quickly. For ages, there's no interest at all. But right at the end, the sniping starts. The practice of sniping, waiting to bid until the end of an auction, is now commonplace on eBay, and it's a pretty effective method of winning stuff. If you spot something you want, just sit back until there's about 30 seconds to go on the auction. Then dive in with the absolute highest bid you're prepared to make. There won't be time for others to rebid, and you'll often end up winning. The practice is so common now, in fact, that you can actually buy software programs to help you do it.
Oh, it's gone up. 42 quid. Yay.
Come on, I want to make some money.
Oh, go on. These are valuable tickets, the standing row tickets.
Come on.
It's only sold for £46.
Sold to Cheryl Evans.
That's, what, almost 20 quid I've lost out on.
I've actually made some money.
I'm not happy.
So, at the end of our challenge, Tom's up about 20 quid and Tanya's down by about the same. But seemingly, it's eBay that's the real winner, having won another couple of fans to add to the 122,000 new subscribers worldwide every day.
I think I will continue using it. Not in terms of making a profit or anything, just for buying things. You can get things really cheap as well.
I think I've probably had a bit of luck, a bit of beginner's luck, but no, I'm hooked now, and thank you for introducing me to eBay. Cheers.
Meet the Tumbler, the Parker Brothers' faithful reproduction of the vehicle that starred in the last 3 Batman films.
Hello, I'm a hotspot. Would you like to plug in? Free Wi-Fi, mate. Take a break. Take the weight off.